Hello and welcome to 5-Minute Math. Today we are looking at the Algebra 1 concept of writing linear equations, specifically how we can write them given a graph, and we'll do it in 5 minutes or less. So sometimes we are just given a graph with 2 points, and if we have these 2 points, that's going to be all we need to find how we can write this linear function that represents this graph here. We're going to start with this slope formula. We're going to move all the way through here to be able to write it in both slope-intercept and standard form. So let's go ahead and label our 2 points as our x1, y1 and our x2, y2, because first we need to start by finding the slope. So the slope is the change in y over the change in x. So that's going to be 3 minus 5, that's y2 minus y1, over our change in x, negative 4 minus 4. So that gets you negative 2 over negative 8, and that simplifies to 1/4 because the two negatives cancel. So that is my slope. So now that I know that, I can use that in point slope form. I only really need one of these points, so let's just go ahead and use that first one right there. So we're going to write y minus, and then what's my y1? That's 5, equals, what's my slope? 1/4, x minus, what's my x1? 4. All right, so we need to distribute this out, and that's going to actually be pretty nice. It's y minus 5 equals 1/4 x, but look at that, 1/4 times negative 4, that's just going to be negative 1. And then we need to just add 5 to both sides to kind of get rid of this negative 5 to isolate that, and you're going to end up with y equals 1/4 x plus 4. So now we've written it in our slope-intercept form, which we're used to. It is not that far of a jump to go from your slope-intercept form to your standard form. You notice our standard form has got the x and y both on the left, so that's all we need to do, is we just need to move that over there. So how we're going to do that is, let's rewrite it, and we are just going to subtract 1/4 x from both sides, and watch what that's going to give us. Negative 1/4 x plus y equals 4, and that's how you can write it in standard form. Let's look at another example. Sometimes we'll get a graph that has no points labeled. So all we could do is we can look for our 2 intercepts. Where does that function cross the x and the y axis? And we'll actually turn those into our 2 coordinates. So if we're looking on the x-axis, it looks like we're counting by ones, so that x-intercept is going to be negative 2. Well, I can actually turn that into coordinate, because when my x is negative 2, my y is 0. That's what makes it the x-intercept. Let's look at my y-intercept. It crosses right there at that negative 4. I can also turn this into a point because it's the y-intercept when the x is 0. So now I've got my 2 coordinates. I've got x1, y1, I've got x2, and y2. So let's use those to find our slope. Slope is change in y over change in x, so that's going to be negative 4 minus 0 over 0 minus negative 2. So that's negative 4 over the 2 negatives make a positive, positive 2. So my slope is simply negative 2. I can use that in my point slope form, and let's just use that first set right there. Okay, so my point slope form says y minus, now here's the nice thing, that y that I'm using is 0, so I'm not going to have to do an extra step at the end. M, which is my negative 2, x minus, and then I've got a negative 2. All right, so I've got y equals negative 2, x, I'm going to go ahead and just make that a plus 2 because I've got a lot of negatives here. So now y equals negative 2x, distribute that out. So that's going to be negative 2x, and that is going to be a minus 4. So now I've written this in my slope-intercept form. And I've got one little tiny jump to get from my slope-intercept form over to my standard form. And you notice in my standard form, I've got my x and y both on the left side. So I'm simply going to add 2x to both sides. And this is what we get. We get 2x plus y, those two cancel out, equals negative 4. And if you want, we can plug in any of these points here, and you can see that if we put a 0 right there and a negative 4 right there, we're going to be good. So that is how you can take a graph and turn it into these different forms.